Yeah. Well, I heard one of the milestone guys, he said, they only, out of what they had, they did 60% the first, 50% or something versus 5 months. And they're gonna have to cram it over 50% this last 2 months, so. Yeah, the weather's leaky, so yeah. Yep, good old milestone schedule.
How are you doing? Has it started raining?
Yeah, just drizzling.
Oh,
Yeah. Guess you could hear my yard going. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Good, how are you, sir? Good. Good to see you. Jeff.
Jack, you can sit up at the big table. Yeah. You have voting rights. Just don't listen to that. Max. Max is with it.
Here for us or for who's coming? Oh, I'm good. What's up? I'm at a meeting right now.
Nice big font.
You know he's turning around.
That
doesn't bode well for the neck.
Afternoon.
Oh.
All right, thank you.
Ryan, I thought maybe you fell off the face of the earth.
I'm here.
You haven't been around the last few meetings.
Yeah. What was this last week?
Yeah, but the commission meetings and the TPC, now transportation. Yeah, you guys were all golfers.
So busy man.
That training in Minnesota. It's been nutty.
What's up?
There's a little gnat here that's gonna make me crazy. I take it everybody signed in?
Good, all right.
Sign in, George?
Sir.
Okay. All right. Jen? That's good.
Let's go ahead and get started. If everybody would stand and say the pledge allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning, everybody. Morning. Let me get the agenda up here. Everybody got the agenda in the mail, the email? Okay, because the links for the NOFA were on there, so, and we will look at those too. Is there any public comments? Oh, excuse me. Number 2, meeting minutes from May 21st, 2024. Has everybody got a chance to read those?
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. Public comments? No public comments? Move on to program of projects update. I want to let everybody know, and I think I've told most of you that I've often joked that my job is like first grade and first grade teacher and Groundhog Day. I do something, and then on Thursday and then Monday I got to redo it all over again, and then by Thursday I got to redo it all over again. So it's just this. But anyway. And then sometimes, some of the issues I deal with is just, anyway, but I think that's part of life. We all have that, right? So when we got our financial funding from NDOT, and I got that in the 1st of August, all the MPOs took, NDOT did not give everybody the same amount of funds we had last year. All the MPOs took a hit. The larger MPOs took a bigger hit than the smaller ones. And so Lake and Porter took a 12% hit. Instead of 25 million, we got like something like 23.5 million. So it's 2.5 million we didn't get. Michigan City and Valparaiso took a small hit. They probably, I think, each took 4%. So, but it was the same across all the MPOs across Indiana. So, I haven't. I slowly looked at the program of projects. As it stands right now, I cannot fund everything that I promised. So projects are moving out, and I've got to, I am working out a deal with LaPorte County, that UZA, Michigan City UZA. We'll have a vote this afternoon. But I'm looking, they have a, if you remember, we talked about it in May. Is that when they came in and just came and talked with us? It was either May or I think it was February that LaPorte County came in. They have a big bridge that they need to replace the superstructure on. And they were looking for assistance. Trying to work out a deal. I think where Lake and Porter would borrow some money from this year, and then pay them back in a later year in 28, I believe. And then we would get some additional funds in 29, I think, also. So I'm working that out with them. We'll talk about it. We're going to be talking about it today, later on. So that is going to help us out a little bit. Just keep in mind, and I'll reach out to everybody individually. So there should not be any surprises and I'll send the program projects out. I do have a report that's due to the Federal Highway this week, so I'm working on that. And then we had the NOFA, which got out last week. So I'm trying to, or it was on the 10th, I should say. So it was a week and a half ago. Anyway, I'll be working, that's on my agenda for next week. So I'm gonna be working on that, or maybe Friday this week, who knows. But I will reach out to everybody like I do. If I have to move something out, I'll let you know. We'll discuss it one-on-one before I make anything official, okay? Just so you know. Moving on, is there any questions? Program projects?
That reduction happened in the out years or in the current years?
Current year. In the past, I always could count on something like a slight increase. I always programmed a 1% increase, or maybe a 2% increase. But NDOT had cautioned me in the past about doing that and saying just keep it steady, keep it constant. And so I had done that, and they didn't tell me, take a 12%. So
what's the reason for the 12% decrease?
I hadn't got an answer yet. So I hadn't got an answer. And part of it is just, I went on vacation and then came back to get the NOFA, but I do have a couple phone calls that I need to follow up on. So I will get that answer. Any other questions? Okay, moving on to number 5, NOFA. Has everybody got a chance to look at the application? There's the application. So the applications, as always, are similar. If there's not a whole lot of changes. The biggest change this year is I took out all of in the past we've had money set aside for each type of projects, and I took that out because we weren't really using that. And if we did fully use that, that was going to come out to like 30 million, and we don't have 30 million. We never had 30 million. So and it came out to in the past, if you had an HSIP project, you just put in for HSIP funds and using the scoring system and the weighted system, the tiers, we funded, that's how we funded your projects. That's simpler, so I just went ahead and made it that way. Did anybody, has everybody looked at the applications?
I looked at roadway modification,
Yes?
and I did a straw man on a project, and the numbers, my score didn't roll up to the front page. And I scored it, so I don't know if that's a hiccup or, I think the front page has the list of all, the summary of all.
Yeah, that's supposed to, sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. I don't know, the calculations are there, I don't know why, sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But that's, we always, if we had to, we could carry those over by hand.
Okay.
And that will happen at the committee meeting, you'll go over those, the application anyway. But I think we fixed just about all the comments from last time, but that's the one comment that I fix it and it works, and then it doesn't work, or it works and then I fix it and it doesn't work, so. You guys are really quiet today. Maybe we should put out some coffee.
I suppose the other issue that I sort of had was the links to the links all work to be,
Maps?
yeah, but I can't remember exactly what it was, but I was having difficulty sort of determining where I was, or like, I think there was a color coded map that it wasn't
This was
clear
on-
on what roadway modification. It wasn't clear to me what the colors, each color represented. And I don't know, can't remember exactly what that was.
So here's the menu, so.
Might have been density. Yeah, that was it. So how, obviously the darker colors are more dense, but how do you, there needs to be a key so that you can select the appropriate factor to enter into.
Right.
Or I don't know how to find the key.
Okay.
The colors and the score you get for that, for landing and going.
It's right there under the search layers.
Then I just don't know, how to figure that out.
Yeah, there you go.
So it's under, okay, legend, okay.
Yeah, well,
How'd you click that? That was to the right?
there's a bar up here on the top, up on the top, right? So,
That helps.
what's that? Yeah, so it,
So, yeah, again, if you're high crash rated, what's your score, right? Because it's just a blend of colors.
well, we could, So it's a high, medium, or low.
Okay,
So I guess you could, depending on if it's red, green, or yellow.
but it
So-
doesn't-
It's kind of fuzzy, like green and yellow.
Yeah, it is kind of fuzzy, so I guess you would have to use your judgment and then discuss it at the STC working group. So,
Go with medium being,
Pardon?
go with medium.
yeah,
Can you zoom into the street?
On the street.
Doesn't matter what street.
It's not interactive, right?
On Michigan Street.
We,
there you go, there's,
it's just aligning with the corridors, right?
right,
So if my road southeastern is close to
So-
Calumet Avenue, I get a 5 points because I'm close to the corridor.
so I would say, for instance, on this intersection of Carroll and Indianapolis, I'm just picking a number out here, I would put in a medium. And then argue would be medium, so there you go. I mean, that's how it's gonna,
Then if it's the urban community, it doesn't help for high crashes in a rural area that has, a problem, right? Because it's focused on, Calumet Avenue in this case, and so 80, 94 and Indianapolis Boulevard.
yeah, I mean, here around the Griffith Airport, of course, that's, we could look at Hobart,
So in the entire city of Hobart, they have
well,
just every.
they
street
get,
gets a
there's a
5
low, but yeah,
For, I'm sorry, the 3, if that's the average score.
well, if you have a point, you're not taking an average score.
No, but what I'm saying is, that's sort of Hobart, right, is where you are now, sort of.
You know where I'm trying to get.
But you got 5 points for high, 3 points for medium, 1 point for low, and 0 if you don't have any.
Right.
I think is what your scoring was. So every street in that community all gets a 3 because it's in this blob of color. When you know that, I'm sorry, I don't know my local streets very well, but let's just say First Street, which has no traffic volume on it, that gets no real crashes, gets a 3, and then Main Street, which gets more crashes in Hobart, for example, they also get a 3.
Right. But I guess it depends on are you looking to reconstruct the whole road?
For whatever purpose, right?
Right.
I mean, this is roadway modification, and all of the categories that fall under roadway modification.
Right.
So
Obviously,
you just scored a 3 just because you're in the town, you're the city of Hobart, you get a 3 no matter what.
well, it depends, I mean, if you look at where First Street is in here.
I thought at our working group, we talked about making that more specific. Because last note, somebody's project radius touched a high population density.
Right, and we brought that down to a 1/4 mile instead of
So-
a 1/2 mile. or immediately touching. So, yeah, if you, to get that point, you had to be immediately touching, in that area. You can't say that, that a half a mile away is a busy area.
Right.
So, in that case, yeah.
Yeah, we were just trying to eliminate issues that we had with the last NOFA in doing that,
Right.
so.
And next spring, after we get the tip in, we'll probably do that also. Look at what issues that we could have fixed, and granted, the system's is not perfect. We're just gonna keep plugging holes in the dike until, keep sticking our thumbs in. Like the two little kids in the Netherlands, and plugging those as we go along. But I think there's always gonna be a question one way or the other.
So this is very ambiguous, right? Score two streets that are, side by side, that one is high volume, high crash rating versus the one, Indianapolis Boulevard and Lagoon, right? They're gonna have, it's a state facility, but whatever. They're gonna have a high crash rating. Lagoon wouldn't, but it would qualify the same just because of its proximity to Indianapolis Boulevard.
Well, sometimes it's not proximity, sometimes it's immediately touching. Immediately
These are
adjacent.
these are parallel roads.
Right,
So they're not touching, they're adjacent to,
right,
and they get the same score because they're in the shaded area.
right, they would. But then I think it also comes down to ADT.
Well, that would be another factor, right?
Right.
So we did a Safe Streets and Roads for All project where we did a comprehensive safety action plan. And with the help of American Structure Point, we identified all our critical corridors and all our high impact intersections. And so we sort of have a better idea on where our problem areas, like we submitted an implementation grant for 169 because all those intersections along that street were high impact,
Right.
crash rated intersections. So we could tell that just based upon our comprehensive safety action plan. Here, we're just sort of looking at a heat map.
Right.
In general,
And if you're looking for a safety, to do an intersection modification safety, then I think there's gonna be some scoring that's gonna come out, and you're going after safety funding. And one of the questions was actually, I think it was, there's a question in here if you had completed, if you'd been part of the NERC safety, road safety audits, or if this intersection was. Yeah, is this safety funds? If so, has the road safety audit been completed? Or will it be completed in 2024, calendar year 2024? So if someone wants to go out and do a road safety audit, that's up to anybody. But we did 9 road safety audits this year. And we will continue doing road safety audits for anybody and everybody. NERC will going forward, at least until 2020 through 2028 we'll be doing that. So if anybody has a road safety audit they would like, an intersection to look at, NERC is doing those and providing those to whoever it is, and at some point we'll start looking at the dangerous intersections that we see, as well as discussing with everybody in here. If it's on your road, then we'll talk with you about it. So, but yeah, one of the questions in here that you can get points for is, was there a road safety audit on it? So, and that's just to speed up the whole getting the HSIP funding, because I can't put it in as HIP funding unless I have road safety audit. So, like, we can speed that process up if there's been a road safety audit, and, our road safety audits are gonna be done by, I think by the end of this week. You should be getting something that you can submit. So, something to keep in mind.
There's no way in the granular data that these are the heat map can be made available. Like, I do heat maps for our transit board, and it looks just like that. But each of those blobs is surrounding a point or intersection. Can that information be made available both for motorized and non-motorized crashes? Or is the map applicable at an intersection?
Yeah, we can, if you email me and CC Grace, we can get you a map.
Or at least the data for a particular intersection.
Yes.
That way it's not, guesswork and blocking. While I've got the floor, a couple other items. The transit map doesn't reflect our current routing in Gary and Henry. That's odd because the Lakeshore North into North Hammond and Whiting is there. But, yeah, the L3 and the R4, that routing is wrong. I can send some DPFS data, to Grace if need be, but this needs to be updated.
Yeah, send it to Grace.
Okay, and, the employment data that you use. I noticed a couple years ago that it was undercounting USX and hospitals and colleges, including Purdue and IUN. It seems like that's the same now.
Again, Grace pulled that data,
Mm-hmm.
so send her an email.
Okay, all right, because when we were doing, I think, the local communities work that Imam was doing, I noticed that it was grossly undercounting those areas. So Methodist, Purdue Northwest, IU Northwest, yeah, that employment's not there.
Okay.
Yeah, all right, I'll send something.
Charles,
Yes.
the road safety audits, are those once per year before each NOFA, or how many,
So we are gonna do them every year.
once a year?
Yes.
Okay.
So, this year we got a late start, so we started in July. And so they're kind of getting it through. Next year, I think they're gonna start in April. So, yeah, next year I think what we'll do is we'll throw out we'll do it, I think we're gonna do maybe a hybrid next year, maybe where we send out the same request for intersections or corridors, request for locations, ROL, maybe that's the proper term, where you can reply back to us. But I think we're also gonna look at this crash and find out where intersections that have a higher, and we might even be reaching out. We had 13 locations that were submitted this year. And of those 13, we eliminated 4 of them because either they were being done with another study somewhere, like on another, INDOT was doing a study, or
one of my lakes were closed.
yeah,
Home was closed, so at cost, so.
Right.
we had to cancel that.
or someone had received funding in the meantime afterwards, so they were implementing some smaller, well, it's not smaller, they were putting in the light. So that affected that one, and then they wanted to wait on another location. So we were able to reduce it down to 9. We were planning on doing up to 15. So, and any money we have left over this year, we'll throw it towards next year, so, we're looking somewhere between 12 and 15 a year. So,
So we can submit more than one?
yeah, you could submit all of them, if you wanted to. But, I mean, we took, this year, we took a priority, if there was an intersection that was on your higher priority list, and you were planning on submitting it, then they were gonna get that done first. So, I think Hammond submitted 3 of them.
4.
4 of them, we reduced, we took one out because, actually it's right up against the South Shore and the road's closed. We're just south of it, so we'll probably throw that one in next year when it opens up. Or maybe, I don't know how long it's gonna take.
Yeah, they should be open by the end of October.
Yeah, so we'll probably throw that in there next year. And then we'll also, like I said, we're also gonna look at this heat map and find out or actually we give a list of locations that are the worst of the worst.
Having that comprehensive safety action plan was, helped me decide which ones we could go after because it ranked high on the severity index. So it made my life easier choosing which intersections were the problems.
Yeah. So that's something to keep in mind for next year. If you have like I said, if you have an intersection that your police, your fire are commenting on at the town council meetings or something like that, throw it out there. So. Anything else on the NOFAs? Everybody understand? And again, if you have any questions, reach out to me, give me a call, we'll talk about your project. If you want to come in the office, we can bring in whoever is going to be, or we can do a virtual call, who's ever going to be heading up the working group. So all the subcommittees, all the topical committees are now going to be working groups. So Mitch is going to be in charge of the 3PC working group because that's now part of the transportation committee. I think Tom is taking care of the STC, the Surface Transportation Group. Iman has the Land Use Committee, which is still, that's still working, so that one will still be working. That'll take care of all the land use and the TODs, and most of the planning ones, except for David's planning. That'll go to the transit operators.
Are we still gonna try to fund the bridge?
Well, we can discuss that. We can discuss that. I would like to keep funding those bridges because they're, because it's important. Yeah.
Is there a guidance document for the split of, so how we're gonna deal with about the Shorewood,
For
this NOFA?
what you talking FTA or are you talking in your transit
Well,
capacity or?
I guess both. I noticed, was reminded in the minutes from May, we're supposed to have one before the last NOFA, and I know it's been.
So
trying to get answers.
we combined the funding with for highway.
Right,
So
so that extends through the entire NOFA period that's
Yes.
advertising.
and that will keep going forward until the next census, till 2030. So as far as, I believe as far as we are concerned, until something changes, we will we annually will combine the funding with Valpo and the Northwest PCAs. FTA, I don't have that answer. You're gonna have to talk to Stephen or Talea.
Well, we do intend to, like, schedule one-on-one to discuss that, but is there any transit operators, meeting scheduled during this, while the NOFA is open to discuss?
There is one scheduled for October, I don't know the exact date. And,
Has that been announced?
I'm sorry?
Has it been announced? Cause I wasn't aware of it. And is that for all operators or just over 18?
I don't know the answer to that. I know it's a discussion point to have with.
Ever since Stephen came on, I've kind of stepped back, so. But Beth, you and I talked last week about, so, if you still want to have another discussion though, maybe we just best get together with everybody in the office and kind of anything else? Number 6, road safety audits are being finalized, as I mentioned. They should be out, I think, later this week. I think that they planned on getting them out by October 1st. And I think you've already seen the drafts we put out. So I do know on October 1st, Cordino is coming and giving a presentation to the Transportation Committee. So if you have any questions, feel free to give me, to ask me, or if you come to the October 1st, you can ask me or Tom or even Cordino. For the consultants in the room, this is a 2-year contract. So next year we'll probably, next fall of 25, we'll put out another RFP for road safety audits. And I invite you to put an application for those. And so.
Excuse me, Charles, I thought we just discussed having RFP in April of 2025 for road safety audit, or did I misunderstand?
Okay, so we will have a request for locations in April, next spring. That I'll send out to all the LPAs. Kind of what we did, was it last April? I think we did something like that, where we sent and it was just, there were 5 questions, one of which was your name, and another one question was what town you're with, what city you're with. Third question was put a pin on a map, and but the other 2 questions, it was just really easy peasy. And then, so that was a request for locations. That'll go out in the spring. So we'll start those maybe in April or May, we'll start those. But in the fall of 2025, we'll put an RFP out to the consultants for 26 and 27. It'll be a 2-year contract. And then, yeah. makes sense. Number 6B, PE and NDOT has had some issues with PE contracts, as well as some CE contracts. They've noticed that some consultants have inflated their PE after letting hours to, and then of course are billing hours for errors and omissions, which which is not allowed. So they are looking at those. So just keep in mind, if you are, NDOT is looking at, nothing's been happening up here. This is one firm or two firms down south that have snuck those in there. And I'm talking about grossly inflating their PE hours after letting to do some design work. Not just for the meetings, but we're talking like 200 hours or something like that in there after letting. So keep in mind, and maybe that's a way of getting around the CE amount or something like that, I don't know. But keep in mind that NDOT is looking at that. They initially asked me to look at it, but then when I talked with Brianne, she said, no, we're doing that anyway, so I don't have to do it. Yay.
PE after letting,
Yeah.
they redesigning something?
Well, if there's an error in omission,
Oh,
then they're charging, what's that?
We're charging a contract.
Yes,
No.
which is not allowed. But they had noticed that some consultants were turning in, for their PE contract, they were turning in like 80, 90 hours of PE after letting. And we're not talking meetings, this was for design changes or something like that.
To the best of your knowledge, that hasn't happened up here.
No, has not happened up here, but NDOT had noticed it, and now they're looking at everybody's, and actually they told me the firm, and I'm not gonna tell you the firm, but it's not a firm that works up here. Let me just say that.
so post-bid management is a standard in a lot of contracts, but it's not for redesign or
Right,
anything, it's just to, manage after the bid.
right, and for the PE, and it really gets foggy when the same consultant who designed it is also doing CE, and then they're able to mesh, pay for some of their CEs with PE, or some of they're doing some redesigns that are not allowed.
Redesign with CE.
What's that?
Doing redesign with CE.
Well, no, with PE, because they're adding extra PE on there and doing, or maybe even doing some redesign with CE.
I could see where that would be easy to cover up.
Yeah, and actually I encountered it a while ago where one consultant was sending an inspector out every single day to inspect the work that had been done, and to inspect the work that had been done, and then and there was not even anybody out there. So this was a while ago.
That's where we become responsible to be good stewards of our project. If we don't have work going, it's up to us to be there to oversee that.
Yeah, this was a smaller town that didn't know better, and I fought with that. I had a discussion with that consultant, and I told him it was wrong. Because you can get the schedule from the contractor. So you know what days they're working. So,
Yeah, along with Jeff's comment about being good stewards of our contracts, you know, that would go for the additional PE building for post bid.
right.
If that would happen on my project, I'd have some serious questions about pay.
Well, but don't you have unknowns that you encounter? I'm sorry, Max, don't you have unknowns? Right, so not a LPA contract, but we're doing Holman Avenue and we didn't realize that, right or wrong, that those basements of those buildings came out into the right of way, right? And so we had to hire the engineer to design a way to segment off that wall,
And
to
that's,
separate it.
and that would be a-
designed during
Right.
construction.
right, that's,
Core allows for that,
right, and that would be a change order.
for the contractor,
Right,
but what about the engineer? We have to have the engineer design something and he had no knowledge.
Supplemental.
I mean, there has to be some level of design during construction.
A change order is a contract, and if you have to change order your PE to cover that, I think that would be the way to do it.
right. What I'm saying is initially when it comes out, they're putting in like, an exorbitant amount of design work after letting. So they're planning on this. So they were covering some of their CE with PE and in essential, and then they were putting in CE, so, they were almost double dipping. Instead of going after a change order. And I'm not talking, we're talking basic stuff.
Okay, well, I mean, there is design that happens during construction.
Yes,
And are you suggesting that they are programming in their original PE contract, supplemental funds, excessive supplemental funds in their original contract to cover engineering design during construction? Or this is coming after the project's already let and they're coming back for more?
so they're covering errors and omissions.
During, is this when they get the PE contract, or is this when it's already been let?
This
They're
is,
asking for more money.
they're putting it in there when they put their PE in there.
Under the original contract.
Right.
And it's excessive.
Right, or they're asking for additional CE,
To cover engineering design during construction.
right. So,
I mean, I don't know about the rest of you, but this happens, we always
Right.
have a level of where the designer has to be involved in the project post-letting.
right, and that's fine, they are involved, and they should be, but what happened, I think, is it was an exorbitant amount,
Okay.
and they put it in there to cover some errors and omissions.
Okay.
So it might have been on a bridge work or something, and there was a design, and it just, with the conversations, it came up that, oh yeah, we've already covered this in our PE, and it's like, no, errors and omissions are on you, because you made an error, you made an omission.
There's always unforeseens, like you said, Dean, but to
Right.
put them in prior to even knowing what the unforeseen is, that's a little.
Yeah,
I get that.
That's
And
why
it's-
I'm
and if
interested.
it's exorbitant, and somebody has to stand in and check that
right,
before it even comes to you.
right. So it's not coming to me now, which is fine. But when I sent this out,
Your NERC will need to review and approve PEs.
I did that, and then last week, Brianne told me, no, I don't need to do that,
Okay.
after the agenda had gone out.
Okay.
So there is a change here. I'm not reviewing it, but NDOT is reviewing this.
And we should. They always review the contract.
But now they realize that this is an issue, or this was an issue in one case, and they're looking at several different ones.
Somebody's gotta find a boilerplate.
So. Any other new business? Okay.
Oh, Charles, back on the multi, you've said in the past, but just for the record, that you're allowing the LPAs to come and speak to Mitch or Tom or you on our projects that we
Yes.
intend on submitting. The deadline for that, meeting, right, is when?
I believe it is, it's in October. October 9th.
Thank you, and thank you for pointing that out.
Quick question, just for confirmation, a project that was approved last NOFA in an out year, you just want us to resubmit it with the former score sheet, and do you want a meeting with that project?
Send me, resubmit everything from the last, and I need a letter. Submit a letter from, Andy, actually get the town in there saying you want to continue with the project.
Should it be Andy or Snoop?
The higher the person, the better.
Council, okay. We'll do it.
So, same with Porter County, if you want to continue, we'll agree. Just submit a letter saying you wish to continue. Or any other project that, I'm trying to think of which projects there are, that had EE funding but not CN funding.
I think it was just Kennedy and Road, wasn't it?
I think those were the only two.
I think those were, but
Yeah, I think that was the big two.
didn't we have to push something that was funded out a year? And it's not in the tip anymore? I could be wrong.
We did not push anything out into,
Limbo.
I'll look at, when I look at it next week, I'll look at it and see where things fit.
But I think, Charles, there is no PE funding for Rotary Phase 2.
Correct. But
We have construction identified in an out year.
But we did that only so you could, for your NEPA document. So your NEPA document could continue. And actually, it's identified in a out year, but it's also identified as 100% local funds. So that way we can get around, we have construction programmed, but yet it's not programmed with federal funds, so it doesn't count against us. So, still, and I'm not sure if there was any other project. You might be right, Jeff, there might be one project or something like that. Yeah, if I notice it next year, I'll reach out to the LPA and I'll let them know, say just send, and basically it's a letter from your council or your town manager saying, yes, we wish to continue with this project. And then send the same application you sent last time. If you want me to send it to you, I'll send it to you. And we'll put that in there. Anything else? Next item on the agenda is adjournment. Second. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? You can stay seated. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah, October 1st meeting, 10 a.m.
10,
It'll be 10.
that's 10 a.m. That's a Mitch thing.